You know that tiny, boring moment when you plug in a USB stick and wait for the files to pop up? In June 2010, that ordinary little moment was part of how a Belarusian security firm, Virus Block Ada, first uncovered Stuxnet, malware that had found a way into a place that was supposed to be isolated. Not just a computer, a nuclear enrichment facility. And that's where my brain goes, wait, how does a piece of code go from a thumb drive to breaking physical machinery? Here's the part that makes me sit up. Stuxnet wasn't built like ordinary malware. It used as many as 4 Windows zero-day vulnerabilities, plus stolen digital certificates that made the code look more legitimate than it had any right to look. That's already unsettling. Then it got pickier. It wasn't interested in every machine on Earth. It was looking for Windows systems running Siemens Step 7 software tied to industrial controllers, the kind of setup that runs real equipment, not just office computers. That is a very specific target list. Not exactly spray and pray. More like, I came here for these centrifuges, and I know their schedule. Imagine you're the engineer at Natanz, watching a screen that says everything is normal. The numbers look fine, the system is calm. Meanwhile, inside the centrifuges, the worm is nudging motors into speeds that stress them, then pulling them back, then stressing them again. Operators later described the maddening part. The telemetry looked normal while the equipment was being damaged. That is the nasty trick here. Not just sabotage, but sabotage plus deception. Code that makes machines lie. And the damage wasn't theoretical. Reports say Stuxnet destroyed about 1/5 of the centrifuges at Natanz and delayed Iran's nuclear program by months, maybe years. That's a real-world consequence you can actually picture. Broken centrifuges, slowed enrichment, and a whole lot of people suddenly realizing that cyber is not a separate category from physical. It can become the same event. The original turn it off and on again joke does not really survive contact with a nuclear program. Not its best day. What's also wild is how Stuxnet got into a supposedly air-gapped facility in the first place. Air-gapped sounds comforting, doesn't it? Like the computers are in a polite little room with a no internet sign on the door. But Stuxnet used infected USB drives and lateral movement once it was inside, which is a brutal reminder that isolation is only as strong as the human habits around it. Somebody plugs something in. Somebody carries a file. Somebody assumes the safe thing is safe. And then the worm is in the room. That has implications way beyond Natanz. Industrial control systems run pieces of the world you depend on without thinking about them. Power, water, manufacturing, transport, all the boring infrastructure that only becomes interesting when it fails. Stuxnet made security people stop treating those systems like an IT problem and start treating them like national security. It also pushed investment into SCADA and PLC defenses, because after Stuxnet, "that's not our world" stopped being a believable sentence. There's another thing people miss. Stuxnet didn't stay neatly contained. It spread far beyond its target, infecting an estimated tens of thousands to around 100,000 systems worldwide, with more than 60% of the infections in Iran, but also systems in places like India, Indonesia, and Pakistan. So even if the mission was narrow, the blast radius was not. That's the part that should make anyone pause before calling cyberweapons clean or surgical. They are software. They copy, they move, they drift, and once they're loose, the world gets a vote. A lot of reporting attributes Stuxnet to a covert US-Israel operation known as Olympic Games, designed to slow Iran's nuclear progress without open conflict. Whether you focus on the engineering or the geopolitics, the big story is the same. This was a watershed moment. It showed that code could directly affect metal, speed, vibration, and failure. It also forced a harder question. If we can build software that precise, what happens when that skill gets pointed at something less contained? That's why Stuxnet still matters. Not because it's ancient internet folklore, because it's a proof point. The digital world is not off to the side anymore. It sits inside the systems that keep the lights on, the water running, the factory moving, the hospital working. So the next time someone says cybersecurity is just for the people in the IT closet, I'd love for you to think of one image: a USB drive, a normal looking screen, and machinery quietly being pushed past its limit. That's the story. And honestly, it still feels weirdly modern.